Hi, welcome to the Austin Downbeat. This is Kat, your host. This is episode number 70 with the beautiful Jeska. I can't wait to tell you a little bit about her and what we talk about. But first, we have a pretty stacked rundown. A lot of people playing this week, which covers September 26th into October the 2nd. So let's go. Big week for Natalie Price. So on September 26th, that's today, release day, Tuesday, she's going to stop by Waterloo Records and play there. On the 27th, you have the West Texas Exiles with Jimmy Dale Gilmore, super close to me up at Pootie's Roadhouse. So I'm definitely going to pop by that one. Gina Chavez is at the Cathedral, and Scott Collins is at Geraldine's. On the 28th, you have Harvest Thieves at Hotel San Jose and Lola Tried at Chess Club. On the 29th, Natalie Price has a big show with Ruby Dice at the O4 Center. So get your tickets for that. Speaking of big shows, Restos is going to be doing their album release for their album called Ain't Dead Yet at Continental Club. The beautiful and wonderful Miss Jamie Harris is going to be joining them, and I believe the Irons Band is opening up for them. So that's another big. You have Natalie Price and Restos. You get to choose. On September 30th, Madame Radar is at Peggy's Porch Party. If you haven't been to a Peggy's Porch Party concert, they are back because supposedly the hellish weather is over. So get your tickets for that. It's one of the best ways to see some music, and she always has such great people on. So that's on September 30th. Same night, there's another kind of house concert happening with the K&D house concert. That's with Kelly McWee and Owen Temple, another really good choice. So not making it easy to choose here, am I? Same night, the 30th, Eric Betancourt is at Hotel Viata. Erica Michelle, adorable. I love her so much. She's so talented. She's at the Saxon Pub. And David Shabani, who's been on the show, is at the Empire Control Room. So that's a lot to choose from. On October 2nd, Monday, you have your residencies. So Bob Schneider is at the Saxon Pub. Monday Night Supper Club is at El Mercado South. And Brian Wolf is at the Driscoll. If you haven't seen him, he's fantastic. So shout out to all of those folks, and then so many more, obviously, that are playing. So be sure to check out Bands in Town is where I go for all my scheduling questions. Okay. I think that's it for the rundown. Jeska is my guest today. She is genuinely one of my favorite voices that I think my ears have ever heard. Insanely talented. We have a wonderful conversation about life, art, music, the relationship we have with ourselves. I really could have talked to her probably for another hour or two. She has a show coming up with her husband, Guy Forsyth. This is the first conspirator show in almost 2 years. So I want to make sure to note that September 29th at the Bugle Boy in LaGrange, the conspirators are back together again. So that's Jeska and Guy, and they're doing a show there. So make sure you get tickets for that. I'm not going to keep going on and on. I'm going to let you get to it and listen to it. But I so thoroughly enjoyed talking to Jeska, having the type of conversation that we had, so raw, so candid, so honest. And besides her voice, which genuinely is one of my favorite voices, one of the things I love about her is she's very honest in the way that she shows up in life. And that's the type of conversation that we have, and it's quite beautiful. So thank you, Jeska, for coming on and spending time and giving to us this conversation. And here it is. Enjoy it. All right, here we go. Jeska, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here.
I know, me too. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I know we were kind of over the last several months trying to make it happen. And I really believe in divine timing and not forcing things. And so I love it when things circle back around and we can make it happen. So you seriously are one of my favorite voices that I think I have ever heard. And I really truly mean that. So I'm a little kind of like, oh, I'm such a fan of yours. It's mostly just real sincere admiration for your voice, for the way that you show up in this world. There's so many facets, and that's what I kind of can't wait. I don't think we're going to be able to talk about it all, but I want to try. So, anyway, just the deepest thanks for coming on and being here.
Well, thank you. That's a really nice things for you to say. I, like
Well,
immediately get like imposter syndrome, I think.
no, 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 just breathe that in because it's so true. I mean, from my little corner of the world, it's so true. I listen to your voice and I'm just like, how is it possible that someone can sound like that? And if that were me, I would be singing all day, every day, just to hear myself. Do you know how good you are? Like, I mean, you have to know a little bit because you have the courage to get up there and, like, you can do it. But what is your relationship with yourself? You
Oh, what a good first question.
Okay, we're getting deep.
Um, my relationship with myself, the way I believe in myself. I mean, you just have to, right? I mean, unless you don't do anything, and I don't want to not do anything. I know that I'm a good singer. I've worked really hard to know that I'm a good singer. I've been training forever, it seems. I started singing when I was like 3 years old.
Mm,
And, but I still get those text messages and I still get unsolicited advice and I know that a lot of the times when I get it, it's from an untrained ear or it's from someone that's upset about something else or but
mhm.
it still gets me. And so I believe in myself, but it's hard sometimes.
Yeah, you're human, as we all are. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming your partner guy is amazing and he's so rock solid. So surely he is, part of that rock of foundation, I would think. You guys are
Yes.
beautiful together. And I was listening to some of your album that you guys did together on Conspirators, and I'm just like, okay, both of them together, like just haunting and beautiful and not overdone, and just like right in that pocket of where you both sing so beautifully, and then just to do it so beautifully together and to complement each other. I'm just like, everybody, if you haven't heard that album, I can't get enough of it. And I feel like there's something I would imagine sort of beyond that. Like that to me is just sort of like the gateway into what you must do for each other off the stage too, of just that support and that level of support that's needed. You talk a little bit about Guy and just that
Yeah.
relationship.
He's practicing. I think he's practicing banjo right now. I've shut. He has a two door minimum that he has to close when he's playing banjo. So but you could still hear it. So that's him practicing in the background. And so Guy and I, about a year and a half ago, decided to both kind of take a break performing together because I really wanted to establish myself as my own independent artist. And he wanted to do some stuff of his own because he definitely took a hard break there when I came into the picture and kind
Mm,
of changed the way he had been doing everything to include me, which was amazing. And I'll never be able to show enough gratitude for that because I really needed that.
mm,
But we got the opportunity. He had a show at the Old Quarter this last Sunday, and I was along for the ride. I played Mucky Duck after him on Saturday, so we road trip together.
mm.
And he invited me up on stage to do the show, and we haven't performed together on a build show in a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
And we didn't practice. I mean, I didn't know I was going to be up there, but there's such an amazing magic that happens when I perform with him. And I'd love to say that it's special because I'm his wife, but I think that it's probably at least a part of magic that he shares with everyone that he performs with. They all feel it.
Mhm.
And oh my, I enjoyed that show maybe more than the audience did.
Mm,
And I'm looking forward to starting to perform with him more. Our relationship is always excuse me, our relationship is always, I think, at its strongest and happiest when we're playing music together.
mm,
Um, You know, we could have an argument or we could have something and then get on stage or go somewhere and perform some songs together and it's like, oh, that doesn't matter anymore.
Mm,
Um, and and the music does translate for him across the board. He is an amazingly kind human.
mhm.
He does believe in me. He'll show up and play guitar for me if something happens and I don't have a guitar player, or he's always there ready to swoop in and help or lift me up or save me. And I'll do the same for him, although I don't have the righteous guitar playing or harmonica skills that he does. Not yet, not yet.
You guys balance each other out so beautifully. Makes me so happy that you have each other and that you're doing what you guys are meant to be doing and you get to do it together. That always makes me really happy when, passion and gifts intersect and someone decides to do that. So let's talk about your journey. When I think of you and I look at all the things, you're like a Swiss Army knife, but they're all sharp blades, like God, everything you do. First of all, your photography is like, okay, there she goes again, knocking us over. Like, what? You have art, you're painting, obviously your music. So when I meet someone like you that's rare, that has just many different outlets of creativity, can you kind of walk back the journey in that? Like, I love hearing about like little Jeska. Like, tell us a little bit about little Jeska and how you walked through this kind of adventure, broad strokes, to get us to here and just your relationship with those things and maybe some things you learned along the way.
I was really lucky to have supportive artistic parents. We didn't come from a house with a lot of monetary means, but we did have art supplies and creativity. And my mom worked really hard cultivating that with all of us. All of us are in the arts in some way, shape, or fashion. I'm the oldest of five kiddos. I've got three steps, but there's five of us.
Wow.
And I'm a multifaceted artist. You just said all the things that I do. My sister under me, Alicia, she's an amazing artist. She does wood burning art where she
Wow.
burns the wood, and she's an amazing pen artist as well as acrylic and just artsy and artsy. She's actually a professional nurse and just had her first baby. Hello, Emily, I
Oh,
love you.
love
She
it.
had herself a little ginger, which makes me pretty happy.
Oh, that's
Uh,
awesome.
yeah. And then right under her is my brother, Zach, and he's an amazing artist. All of us can draw. So we'll just get that out of the gate.
Yeah.
But he's a graphic designer. He's
Cool.
a genius. Like like they tested him and he was the smartest of all of us. And he would be the kiddo taking apart the toaster just to see how it works.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and then there's Becca, my sister under Zachary, another ginger. Zach's a ginger too.
Mm,
And she's an amazing artist. She's been drawing a lot of animals because she is a vet tech. And so that's what she does here in Austin.
yeah.
And she draws these amazing cartoons of these animals. And then my littlest sister, Veronica, who's my special one, um, she's just she doesn't think she's that great, but I think her stuff is amazing. She's just a great artist and a tinker fairy. She puts
Mhm.
together these cool little art installations, and she also has two nieces of mine, Maddie and Ellie. Hello, and Maddie and Ellie are also artists. It's just trickled right on down, and it's pretty cool to see all of the art and the ways that it has kind of blossomed in all of our lives.
Mm.
Um, I think the way that I ended up this way is probably the best way to explain it would just be chaos. I've always been interested in everything, and luckily enough was able to try a lot of it,
Mhm.
and and it worked out. A lot of it worked out with my ability to do it, not really in the way of seeking any riches from it.
Right.
And to make light of that, usually what I say to people is I've learned how to do everything that I can to stay poor. Because I'm an artist, I'm a singer, I'm a model, I do acrylic art, I do sculptures, I do stained glass, I do photography. I do. And honestly, I feel like the one upper from Saturday Night Live when people are like, well, what do you do? Oh, I do that. then someone's like, well, I do this. I'm like, I do that too. Like, and so I sometimes I don't like to tell everyone what I do all at once because I
Yeah.
think I sound like a little bit of a liar.
Yeah. That's so funny because I share a little bit of that too. I've had crazy jobs and I've been immersed in like really different things. And I had a boyfriend once and it was like, in those first 6 months of getting to know each other, and he'd be like, wait, and we talk about something, I'd be like, oh yeah, yeah, I used to do that, or I did infant massage, or I used to be a teacher, or I was worked in TV, or and it was like, what haven't they done? But my question for you, because I feel a kinship in this, and it's something that I've actually spent a lot of time thinking about just in my own life, is like, would I have rathered do something like one thing and just tried to become an expert and a master, and kind of put all my eggs in that basket and be known for that and have maybe a certain different type of credibility, maybe? Or do I like the way that I've done it so far, which is to do like you and to try a million things and to really find the beauty in that? And I always come back to, I love what I chose. And you're right. Did it make me rich or whatever? It depends on what you define as success and what you define as riches, right? That's where I land, and I feel so deep and solid in that. And I think you do too. But I think it's worth exploring because it definitely is a choice. But I love kind of, you're right. I do the same thing where I'm like, maybe I don't bring up the fact that I did that too,
Yeah,
because then
yeah.
it
It's like
gets to
I've
be
said
like,
already five things. I'll just leave it at five things.
you get three things a night, Jessica.
Mhm. I
Like
think
this.
that what you just said, it goes back to a question you asked a moment ago about little Jeska,
Hmm.
because it's so easy to get so incredibly discouraged, especially in the music world.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm at an interesting place right now with my music world because I've started a new band,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going well, but it's difficult and it's hard to get the new venues, and it's hard to get enough money to bring the band. Or if I bring the band, maybe I'm paying the band to play and I'm not making any money, but I'm not making any money anywhere else unless I do the photography, unless I do the painting, unless.
Mm.
So I would really like to do just the one thing,
Right.
but I have to do all the other things to subsidize the one thing I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been experiencing a lot of depression lately, and just feeling like, why am I doing this? I mean, I feel like I'm killing myself, and I'm running so hard at a goal that I don't know I don't know if a goalpost even exists for it.
Mm-hmm.
AI is coming out and taking over the world, and here's little me, just like, I have a little song, I'm gonna put it out there, and I can feel so low. But when I think about little Jessica,
Mm-hmm.
which I would be Jessie Lou, when
Oh,
I think about Jessie Lou, I'd be so proud. I'd be so proud. I remember discovering the phone number of the radio station in San Angelo, and I still have it memorized. It's 949 9470. Like, I know this number because I knew if I could call them and sing for them on the radio at probably 9 years old, I surely was going to get famous. Like,
mm,
that was my in. I remember the desperation of that moment in my life and staying up all night and just trying my hardest. And I get to sing with a 50-piece orchestra next year. And I got voted Austin Female Artist of the Year. And I get to stand on the stage at Antown's, and I get to play at Saxon Pub, and I get to drive around and go places where people will pay a little bit of money to see me. And that gets to be my job.
mm-hmm.
And that is such a measurable amount of success that
Mm-hmm.
I think so many of us forget that just the fact that we get to do this at all as our job means we've already succeeded. And we just chill out. And
Mm-hmm.
if there's bigger things that come, that's great. But I'm trying hard to find a way that I can be graceful and I can be happy with what the world has given me right now.
Mm-hmm. That was going to be my question, is it enough? Can it be enough? Right?
I don't know that anyone like me could ever have enough.
Right. And I think that's probably what a lot of us have to keep a check on, right? Because you don't want to, like, I would never want you to lose that, because what you have to offer us is so important. And I don't want any of our ears to ever have to not be able to listen to what you're doing, right? So I want you to have that drive for selfish reasons, and also non-selfish, but because I care. Um, but it's quite a delicate balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so you really do have to be so gentle with yourself, and you
And
really
not many artists are very
no,
gentle.
but that's and then again, that brings the other paradox. Well, that's what gives us great art sometimes too, is that you're not gentle with yourself, and that you do struggle the way that we all do, but you guys put it out there for us. Um, it's just a constant zooming in and zooming out. So how do you take care of yourself? That's a question I ask a lot on the show, because I think it is such a valuable answer, because it talks about the real life shit of, we all go through it. It's just that people in the public eye tend to go through it a little bit more, if they, and certainly if they choose to talk about it. So how do you take care of yourself?
Sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, sometimes I will wallow in the misery. Sometimes my house is dirty and my
Yeah.
floor is covered in clothes, and maybe I've got 3 or 4 bags from the tour I just did and a modeling shoot that I did, and I haven't unpacked them in a week. And sometimes there's dishes in the sink, and I don't feel like I'm being a good mother, and sometimes I don't feel like I'm showing up in the ways that I need to. But I also know that if I listen and I pay attention, that it will come back around,
Mhm.
and that I will wake up and I'll pick up the dishes and I'll get the clothes off the floor and I'll make my bed and I think it's important to feel your feelings, even if they are not always positive.
Mhm.
Um, give yourself the time that you need to process, and I think that processing sorrow and upset is part of that. And I'm just such an emotional person. I don't have a choice to shut it off. I'm lucky enough that I work with Sims, the Sims Foundation, and Ham.
Yes.
And Sims is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing, as well as Ham.
Mhm.
And I have a therapist, and I have a psychologist, and I can be on medication, and I can work on myself and make sure that I'm okay.
Mhm.
And there's people out there that can be there and show up for me when I need them. And it can't always be my husband,
Right.
because he's also an emotional musician.
Mhm.
And sometimes we both are experiencing the very lows at the same time.
Mhm.
And he doesn't have anything to give me.
Right.
And and so I've got my chosen family around me, and I have my family as well. Our relationship isn't isn't that close in that way. I wish that it was, but it's not right now. But seasons change,
Mhm.
and just to not feel alone.
Mhm.
Just just I don't ever want anyone else to feel alone. I certainly don't want to be alone.
Mhm. It's such a valuable sharing, I think, for us to hear. I had a really shitty day. It doesn't happen very often, but yesterday, like I had one of those days where I was just really, well, a lot went, like, it was kind of one of those days where, like, if something could go wrong, like if you turn the corner, I bumped my shoulder and that pissed me off, or
I'm
just,
gonna beat up the bushes.
yeah, yeah, where I literally, like, in between my ears, nobody wanted to meet me for the first time yesterday. We'll just put it that way. Like, I just was in a funk. I really struggled all day long, and I didn't know why. But I've lived with myself long enough to know, to know what to do, and to be patient, and to trust the bigger balance is what I always think of, especially like when I'm driving, because I'm really critical of drivers. Like,
Me
I
too.
expect a lot of people, I guess. I don't
Yes.
know. Maybe
They
I,
should use their blinkers.
like,
Woo!
for the love of God, it's all about communication. But anyway, I have to tell myself literally out loud, I'll be like, the greater balance in this whole entire on the planet, there is a greater balance. And that person cutting me off or being just stupid asshole is part of the bigger balance. He's supposed to do that. She's supposed to do that. My mood today is supposed to be this. Because if it's not, then that means we're not moving, right? There isn't that flow that we know that you touched on. Like, I know it's going to get better. I know that tomorrow is a new day and maybe it'll be different. Maybe it'll be the same. But like that flow is what I try to remind myself of. I don't always love parts of every flow and the ebb and whatever, but I try to like peel back and go, okay, I'm just on like one big like river raft ride. It's not all going to be fun, you know? But I think you make such a great point in just feeling the feelings and being in that space. I just was in such a yucky headspace that by the end of the day, it was just interesting information for me. Like that's kind of after spending a whole day of that, I was just finally sitting on my bed going, well, isn't this just information, you know? And I can be okay with it. I want it to be done, but I also can learn how to be okay with it, you know?
Yeah, as long as you're not bringing anyone down into your pit of misery
I
with
think
you.
I think I might have vented a little too long to one person, but it's fine.
I do that too.
They can
It's
handle it.
okay.
Then you're like, vulnerability hangover, and you're like overshare hangover. You're like, I'm so
I do
sorry.
it all the
I
time.
dumped on you. And they're like, no, it's fine. You're like, hate
Yeah, and
that.
then you feel awkward, like texting the next day. Everything's great. Sorry.
I'm better today.
I'm sorry about all the things I said. But I think it's important to give yourself some time, like give
Yeah.
yourself a day to process the feelings.
Yeah, because who knows? And two, maybe, maybe depending on how we react in the conversations we have, maybe I believe that there's always gold in everything. Every hard thing, there's always nuggets of gold, is what I always say for myself. And I think, reserving a little bit of space for that is always kind of good. And so let's talk about your band and your music, because I know you've released two singles recently
Hmm.
that are so good. And I know that you love true crime, and those things have to do with one another. Can you talk a little bit about, I'm very curious about your love of true crime, because I know you wear that passionately. So where did that come from? And then what inspired you to turn that into basically an album or a record or whatever we're calling it these days? So fill us in on that.
Sure. I am a lover of true crime. I think I have been forever. I was I was about the same age as baby Jessica when she went down the well.
Yes.
And that's my first, and that's not like a crime, but it was the first like really nationally 24-hour televised situation. And my grandpa recorded it on a VHS. And so every
Yes.
time I went to his house, I watched it and I would like reenact it in the backyard. There was like a stump and I'd sit on it. And like I was baby Jessica. And then in like junior high or elementary, like, Rescue 911 and Unsolved Mysteries came out and that just captured me.
Mhm.
Um, it just did. I was obsessed with it, but that was the kind of closest thing there was to true crime at that time.
Mhm.
And then living my life as a woman, I've gone through a lot of situations that have happened, and I've lived in fear of other situations happening. And I think that is one of the biggest reasons that I am so obsessed with true crime. It makes me feel not alone because
Mhm.
I know that things have happened to other people.
Mhm.
It helps me sometimes minimize the things that I've gone through because, oh my goodness, how can I feel badly about myself? Look what happened to this person. And
Mhm.
then it's also for training to know what to do if that situation were to happen.
Mhm.
And the album that I'm making, it is a true crime album, but there's an important distinction that I like to make because it's not a murder ballad album. There will be no glorifying of the culprits in my songs. Their names will not be mentioned. I want to lift up the people that were hurt or scared or that didn't make it. and I want to educate, and I want to lift people up, and I wanted to unite. Mainly, I mean, most of us are women.
Mhm.
I want to unite us, and that also goes into another thing I'm really passionate about is breaking down the walls that women are just kind of taught from little bitty babies to
Mhm.
not trust each other, to be pitted against each other. Like a band can only have one girl in it. Everybody knows that.
Mhm.
And it's so silly because there are such beautiful personalities and minds, and they come in every different kind of packaging.
Mhm.
And it's like shoes. I don't discriminate. I like pointy-toed shoes. I like square shoes. I like sandals. I like heels. I like just let 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 people have the opportunity and the space to show you who they are before you make a decision and judge them.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I think, I mean, it is surprising that, I mean, I know what you're talking about. I know that um, kind of old school mentality. Do you think that it's getting weeded out as the generations come through? Or do you think, I mean, I think there'll always be a little bit of it, but do you think we are progressing generationally about that and just being more inclusive and loving? I mean, I only know it from my perspective, and it's just like, and I guess I spot it because that's what I believe is about women supporting women and, fixing each other's crowns. Cause I mean, everyone is just so beautiful and has something to offer. Um, so I tend to notice that and see that. You being in the business offers a much different perspective, and you probably see a different angle. But is it changing a little bit over the
Oh, I
years?
have art all over me. Sorry. I was like,
I
oh
know, I
God,
was
no,
like,
it's
is she wearing a glove?
no, I was painting. Um, I see it from both sides.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, there are some women that I've experienced in the industry here that they were not
Taught that way.
presenting themselves in their most graceful way,
Mm,
and it hurt really bad. And then there are some women that did the same, that have come full circle, and then now we adore each other. And then there's people that are just accepting right out the bat. I do think it's changing, but I don't think it's changing because we're specifically bringing light to the fact that we are just emotionally pitted against each other. I
mm,
think it's kind of changing because of the way that the world is changing.
mhm,
I think that there's a lot more conversation that needs to be had as far as it being women against women, and why we just inherently, without, no one says to do that,
mhm,
but we do.
mm.
So there is positivity. I see it in my daughter. I also see her being kind of mean sometimes. So you can hope that it is, but unless we have the hard conversations, then nothing's going to change.
What's at the heart of it, do you think? I mean, for me, usually when,
Fear.
yeah, okay, that's what I was gonna say.
It's fear. It's all fear.
Yeah, yeah, and
We don't
probably
feel like we're
some,
good enough. We don't feel like we're pretty enough. We don't feel like we're talented enough. There's always someone more talented. There's always someone more pretty. How could that person possibly love me when they could have whoever they want? Why would they have me come and be on that stage when they could have whoever else they want? Like, it's our inner dialogue. It's
our
not
ego,
loving
really.
ourselves. Yeah.
That's our ego is not our amigo. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think most things kind of boil down to fear or greed or sadness. Yeah. Wouldn't it be amazing if there was just a way to just literally peel that off of every single person at the same time? Can you imagine the type of experience walking through your day, what you would have if
Hi,
nobody.
Barbie. That's what it would be. Sorry.
And that's our interview for today. She's
Goodbye.
yeah, yeah, goodbye.
But right, that's what it would be like.
Yes.
That movie, like,
Yes.
I
Yes.
need to take Guy to see it. I think he'll love
Oh
it.
my God.
I went
Yeah.
with my daughter, but
Me
I think Guy
too.
would love it. Yeah.
Yeah, we want to see it again, but I think it's coming to in home soon. So I think we'll
Hmm.
just wait. But yes, you are 1,000% right. That movie was. well, Greta Gerwig, she's amazing
Yeah,
anyway.
I cried.
Oh, I cried and laughed, and I mean, it was perfection, don't you think?
Yes, yes, it was. It was beautiful. And I'm gonna watch it a lot, I think.
I know, I think I will too. Um, let's talk a little bit more about your music.
Sure.
Yes, I love how we can start talking about music and how it just dovetails so beautifully because that is truly, I feel like, I don't know you, but I feel like I know you. But I think that just reinforces my point about who you are. You are deep and wide, and what you give over here has to do with everything over everywhere else. It's like it's all connected. And it just, when you listen to your music, when you listen to your voice, it's like you can feel that through your ears. And so it's just so cool to be able to have a conversation with you and just kind of figure out where we go and where we land on. So
If
I'm
I know.
you never know. What is so on the horizon for you right now? Are you slowly releasing songs for this album, or what's the process? Because I know some people do it differently, and there's no real one way to do it anymore. But how is that going, and when can we hear more songs? Is basically my question.
There's more songs recorded. The album's not done yet. We're past halfway. It's going really slow.
Mhm.
There's just a lot of things going on, and I get the opportunity to work with the amazing AJ Vallejo.
Mhm.
I'm with his label, which is amazing, but he's a very busy fella. And AJ, this is in no way, shape, or form me telling you that you're not doing a good job. You're doing an excellent job. I know you're busy, but he's busy and I'm busy, and we both have families, and so we
Mhm.
get together when we can, and we are writing and recording and doing music videos. And we're going to be releasing some here and there just to keep people interested. And then it looks like it's going to be next year. My shiny new little baby will be born.
And that's Murderino. Hmm.
Yeah, that's Murderino. And I've kind of recently been getting a little nervous about it because online true crime is actually getting some shit right now.
Why?
Um, because of the cases that people choose to lift up, that there's so many indigenous women that are actually hurt, and the cases that people choose don't necessarily lift up the right demographic as often as they should. The mentioning or discussion of the perpetrators and not lifting up the the wounded. I know that there's a new true crime coming out on Hulu or Netflix or something, and it's kind of like the Dahmer one where they decided to do the story from Dahmer's perspective. And in this case, and I can't remember the name of what it is, and it's on Netflix, I remember that. But they chose to tell the perpetrator's story instead of like the three black women that survived and could have given their perspective. And I totally get that. Um, and so I still think that my album is okay. I think that we're okay because of the angle I'm going at it.
Hmm.
But it does make it a little extra scary to see
Hmm.
the dream that you've been dreaming for 5 years, and having people start kind of talking badly about that genre, and you're like, I hope I'm not making a horrible mistake right now. But there's always going to be people like me. I'm always going to watch. I'm always going to watch it.
Yeah. And also I do think that your angle on it is so different. And I think if that's very clear from the very beginning, that I don't think you'll have a problem at all. Why do you think we glorify and, you know, only focus on perpetrators and not victims? Why do you think that?
That's because it's fascinating how horrible people can be.
Hmm.
It's like it's rubbernecking a wreck. It's morbid curiosity.
Hmm.
I mean, I watched it. I watched the whole Dahmer series, and it was kind of gross. But you want to see it. You want to know. You want to understand why. Why would that person do that? How did that person do that? How did they live with themselves for that long? There's a lot of questions, and it makes people do research on it and seek it out. Um, I'm friends with a man named Andy Kahn. He lives in Houston, and he's the gentleman that came up and coined the phrase murderabilia,
Mm,
because there's a problem with people that go to prison and they do artwork and sell it, or they sell their story and they make money off of it. And it's just that's not at all. That's not what I'm trying to do here.
yeah.
I'm trying to help and heal, and it still is selfish on my part. I'm trying to make the experiences and fear that I live with not just that.
Mhm.
I can't have just been raped. That can't be my story. I can't have just had cancer. That can't be my story. I have to advocate. I have to have gone through it for something.
Hmm. Are you revisiting the scene of the crime a little bit for yourself to then have control over the narrative in a way?
I suppose so.
Mm,
One of the songs on the album's called Midnight, and it's about stalking. And I've had a couple of those. They're horrible, and it's terrifying because there's really nothing that anyone can do to help you in that situation unless they kill you, which is not that helpful to you.
right.
Um, so I'm revisiting some of my trauma. I've got a lot of ideas for a lot of songs, and they get stuck in my head. It gets, and not like, oh, I have the whole song here. It's just stuck. I think I get scared to
Mm,
put it on paper
hmm.
and get
And
to kind of relive it.
once you do, how does that feel?
Oh, I feel proud of myself when I do it.
Does it
um,
release any of what you've been holding on to in a way? Is it cathartic in like a
I would
physical
love
way?
to say yes, but I don't know that it is. I, I guess it's scary still. I know when I start talking about Midnight on stage and I tell the audience it's a song about stalking, that often the reaction is for people to laugh. And that's a nervous reaction, and it's a reaction they don't know how to take it, and that they think I'm ridiculous, and that the true crime band is a hilarious idea. But I don't think they understand what I'm doing.
Hmm.
And so when I have the opportunity to explain that to them, then I do get a different reaction, because it is very real and it's so scary, and you feel so alone.
You're breaking this societal mold, and I love you for it. I really do. I have such admiration and respect for what you're doing and the voice, the megaphone that
My
you're
mom calls me megaphone.
but while you might just be one of the few kind of shouting it, what you're doing is kind of trying to break this really horrible mold in society's brains that is just focusing on the wrong thing. They're looking over here when they need to be looking over here. And I think what you're doing is like big responsibility, and those are big shoes to stand in. And it feels like, or I'll ask you, how does it feel to kind of carry this flag? And I know that I think I know the answer, because I think your spirit just seems so strong. And so, even though you might not feel like you are, that's how you come across. And I know that you are. So I'll just remind you that you are. Um, like I know that you can do this, and I know that you'll do it for as long as you possibly can. But it also just feels like, how does it feel being responsible for holding that up for people that are just not even looking in the right direction? You know? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I think that it will feel like more of a responsibility when I have more people looking at me. I don't have that big of an audience right now, and the people that I do have, it's very interesting after a show. The women will come up to me and talk to me, and they feel a kinship with me, and they feel safe to share stories with me right off the bat, that I don't think that would be a normal thing for people to share. And so that tells me that I'm doing the right thing,
Yeah.
is that people feel the thing that I'm trying to convey to them, and they feel it really strong or not at all, which is also fine. They might just think that that sounds great.
Right.
But it really connects with some people, and that's why I'm doing it. That's what keeps me trying to do it. Um, I feel like an imposter. I don't feel like I'm like holding the torch for anyone. I feel like I can hardly hold the torch up for myself, but
Hmm.
I just try and wake up every day.
Hmm. Well, I think you're holding it, and I think you're a perfect person to do it. And I appreciate it as a woman. I really appreciate it. So thank you for standing up
Thank
there
you.
and being so committed to our lives and our stories. And, because what you have to say and what you're choosing to write about and doing an album about is not comfortable.
It's not comfortable to talk about it on stage either.
Right. It's, and
It's awkward sometimes, but I just had to keep going.
yeah, but I think, gosh, that's what we need to hear. And I think it's what people need to kind of sit in that sometimes and, be comfortable being uncomfortable. It's usually like on an individual level when, like, I mean, this is what I told my kids not long ago. I have two teenagers, and it was like, listen, life, how do we do it? I could spend the rest of my life giving you advice, but I think at the end of the day is the more comfortable you are being uncomfortable and knowing that there is no finish line and there is no, like, sure, stuff gets better and things get easier, but there is always going to be something that comes next. So if you can get comfortable with that, and I think if we all did that, then maybe what you have to say would be easier for people to actually, would be more palatable or be able to kind of digest it. But we don't live that way, you
And
know.
I've never been someone that's easy to digest. You
That
can ask
doesn't
my
surprise
mom.
me. But so much fun, I would imagine.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the oldest of a bunch of kiddos. I can be a little bit of a ringleader
Yeah, for
without
sure.
even meaning to be. You know, when I meet new people, I'm like, hey, if I seem a little bossy, just say, hey, you're doing the thing a little bit, and I'll be like, oh, sorry. Like I don't do things to be ugly or mean or to hurt anyone,
Yeah.
and sometimes a little gentle redirection doesn't hurt anybody.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, gosh, I feel like we could talk for 3 more hours. I just want you to know, like, for whatever it's worth, just keep doing what you're doing, and you have at least me in your corner for sure. I'm gonna put my stool right there and just keep on doing it. And I'm so glad you are doing what you're doing. It's
Thank you.
important. Yeah.
And you can text me and like call me or whenever you want.
I mean, like,
You're
if you want to, like,
Yeah, you're gonna be my. I have two teenage kids too. I'm just saying.
yes, we could share some tips.
Coffee.
Yes, let's have some coffee. I would love that. I would love that. Jessica, thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome. I'm like, it's over already?
I know. Well, I know. I have to kind of like keep it under an hour
No,
and,
you're okay. You're good.
gotta land the plane sometime. I don't want to, but that just means that you can come on again, like when your album comes out. And, and anytime you play a show, I'll make sure to put my little megaphone up and tell everybody. I
Woot,
do
woot.
I do want people to go to your website because jeskaatx.com is a great place to go. It's kind of a one-stop shop to see everything that this beautiful woman does. Her art, her music, her photography. I think I might actually have you, maybe I'll book a session with you.
I would love that. Yeah,
Don't.
I owned a studio for 10 years in San Angelo, and when I moved to Austin, I tried to do it. Nobody knew me, and there's a college with a bunch of students that do it for free.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start doing some sessions with women musicians that
Yes.
I can tell don't feel confident in their beauty. And I'm going to like let them see what the hell they look like because they're beautiful.
And that
And
you
that
do.
worked. And I'm
Yes.
starting to get some clients from it. So that was great.
I saw all that stuff right away, and I was like, I love it. I love it. I love it. I got to do it. So
I'd love to do a session. That'd be
yeah,
fun.
that would be so fun. And I just love the women. I think that was one of the things that really stuck out for me is that you are not just about talking, like you walk the walk and you really do support women and you show that. And I think that you do a beautiful job doing that. So
Well,
anyway,
thank you.
Jessica ATX, go to her
Yeah.
website and
Jeska, like Fresca.
yeah, Jessica,
Jeska. Jeska.
Jessie Lou.
Jessie Lou. That's my little girl name.
I mean, how cute
Because
is
my
that?
middle name is Loana.
What? How do you spell that?
Hmm. Lawana. Loana.
Lawana. Where did that
Hmm.
come from?
My Mimi, her name's Loana.
Oh my God, so cute.
So Jessie Lou.
Oh my, with your little red hair.
Hmm.
Like,
Yep.
stop it.
Yep.
So cute.
Giant glasses. Yeah.
Oh,
I'll send you a picture.
yeah, do it. Text me a picture.
But thank you for having me. I keep distracting you from ending your show.
I don't
Sorry.
care. It's my show. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, we're going to say goodbye. That does it for this episode with Jessica. And thanks for watching. And we will see you next time. Bye bye with this harsh light.
Bye. Goodbye.
Bye.